let's dive into it. Number one. So the first thing you need to do whenever you're going into a situation where maybe you don't like the leader who's leading it, but you know you have to be there, or you just don't like the team itself or the organization, but again, you know you have to be there. The first thing is actually a mindset shift. And we've talked about this a lot. And this is something that sometimes gets some heat, if you interpret it the wrong way, but we always say it. You've got to get selfish to be selfless. So let's start by breaking that down first of what that really means. First part, get selfish. Selfish means you're focused on you, right? In society, we've given it a negative connotation when really we don't look at it and ask ourselves, well, being selfish and working on myself, what does that really allow me to do for others? And that's where the second part of this comes into play. The second part is if you get selfish and you work on yourself, you can then be selfless and work for others, right? You can give back. You can start to help your team. You can help your organization. Where people get carried away with this definition is they think, oh, I got to be selfish and just focus on me. Not really. You've got to get selfish so you can develop yourself. Otherwise, you're going to have nothing to give to other people, right? And the problem with this is we see a lot of selflessness a lot of the times, even to a fault. How many times have we seen that before? And you get a lot of the times what we notice is, especially in the team and sports and corporate environment, you got to put the team first. Well, that's really not how the human brain works, right? We do things as human beings because they have emotional meaning to us. And if they have emotional meaning to us, we're going to go out there and we're going to fight for it. So the first thing you have to realize is all of this starts with, if you're going into a crappy situation with a coach or a team or a leader, you've got to first push that aside and get focused on yourself. You've got to get selfish and get committed to bettering yourself this year, no matter what.
And I think that comes with a little bit of self-awareness as well.
A lot of self-awareness.
Like you got to take a look at your own performance from that last year, and you got to say, okay, like you were saying, am I putting in the work? Not only, like if you're looking to gain the respect, you got to put in the work yourself. Yeah. It's not just a thing that's given to you just because you're at some level. Like it's every single year. You got to really look at it and say, okay, this is what I did last year, whether it was good or bad or whatever it was. You're starting from zero again every single time, right? So like, I don't know, like you were saying, leaders, sometimes they get a little upset with individuals, whether that be for effort, maybe they just don't respect. Like if you're really going off of that and you want to look at yourself, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, am I actually putting in that effort in order to get that respect, in order to earn that respect from that leader, that person in authority? Because if you're not doing it, I mean, just bitch and complain all you want until you leave then.
True. Very true, right? It's like, it's just, you're sitting in your own stool at that point. So what you have to realize is before we get into the transformational process, the first step in all of this is right away getting the mindset down of I've got to be selfish to be selfless. It's a number one. And the thing is this should ring true even if your environment is fantastic, right? We always hear the saying, so many people talk about, but you got to work harder on yourself than you do your job. Why? Because you can only give back to those around you if you have something to give. I can't stand seeing this all the time where athletes just come into it, or even professionals, and it's like, well, I don't got to work on anything anymore. I'm tapped now. I'm at this spot. I'm one of the best, yada, yada. When the truth is behind this all, you can only be one of the best if you're committed to working on yourself. That's why the key to all of this is commitment to growth, not commitment to just results, commitment to being better. You need to see yourself as your own business, right? And if you don't have any value to give your quote unquote customers, which in this case, your clients, is your team and the organization you're working for, there's no point of being there. They're not going to buy from you. You're not going to be able to impact them. You're not going to be able to help them. And when you make this mindset shift of, okay, I'm in charge of being the absolute best version of myself so I can give back to others, that's when you really start to get into this spot where you're able to help. And on the opposite side, the one thing I'll say, and I'll let you take the floor on this, but this whole thing is well behind, I'm going to put others first. That's one of the lowest standards you could have for yourself. Because think about this for a second. If you're putting others first before you're getting yourself to a level that you can truly impact others for the benefit of them, right? And you're putting them first before you've worked on yourself, you're only giving them 50% of what could really be 100. And at the end of the day now, you're only giving them a half-assed effort or quality or product, right? Being yourself, when really you can give them 100%. So if you are somebody that is too selfless and you're almost to a fault selfless, where you're not working on yourself. You need to flip that narrative. And if you are going into a situation where it's like, oh my God, this environment sucks, we're going to challenge you again there and say, put yourself first now. How are you going to get better?
And I think that's also something that's very important for leaders in general.
Yes.
Like a lot of the times, you know, if you're a great player on the team, you come into the season, it's like, okay, I got to put the team on my back now. I got to do everything for the guys, for the girls, whatever it is, and you kind of lose sight of your own skills and traits, right? And
Sure.
and you get distracted. And one of the big problems, not problems, but challenges that I faced was that exactly, where I started asking people to do things that I wasn't capable of. And if you can't exemplify what you need from them, if you can't be that example, you shouldn't be asking anything from them.
Well, and just to get clear on that too, what Chris is mentioning, he's not saying you need to be the jack of all trades. What Chris is saying is you need to be able to understand that your actions and your effort have to be something that are replicated or sorry, exemplary to others.
Yeah, you have to be willing to, or not willing, you have to be able to hold the standard that you're asking other people
Yes.
to get to.
100%. Now, coming from that, the second part of this mindset shift before we get into the purpose and vision, you also have to realize that the onus is all on you, right? I can't stand seeing this, especially when we have athletes or players or individuals that we work with from the business professional setting. It's almost like, well, it's all on the coach, or it's all on my team, or it's all on the environment. The reality is, if you are going to be selfish to be selfless, and this is a freeing moment when you actually do this, you have to realize that it's all on you. And this is a great thing because that means you're in control. The worst thing that could happen is that you don't have any control, right? You don't have any freedom. You don't have any fortitude to go do what you need to do, and your fate is in somebody else's hands. You have to realize that when you are able to work on yourself and you commit to working on yourself and being selfish to be selfless, that is a choice to focus on the controllables.
And even if they don't like you after that, I mean, at the end of the day, it's whatever. You cross off the stuff that you needed to do in order to get there. So, I mean, it's not like you can say that you didn't do everything that you possibly could do in order to make the best of a situation, right?
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast episode, click right here.